YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. After Sunday's action in NFL Week 14, I'm giving you my takeaways for each of these games. Some of them we'll probably go through real quick, just a couple takeaways, pretty straightforward stuff on some games that weren't that entertaining. But yeah, a lot to go over like usual. We do this video every Monday. We have power rankings and weekly picks every Tuesday, score predictions on Wednesday, and a lot more videos on the channel. Even in the offseason, we got you covered. So if you're new, please go ahead and subscribe. Be much appreciated. Turn notifications on. Follow that Twitter. It's a must-follow. Constant NFL talk, especially during live games. Link down below for that, as well as the Instagram podcast, Patreon, and for the Sided app. Sign up for that. You debate football. We have a page on there, so give us a follow. Debate football, and you can potentially win Amazon gift cards. But right before we get started, that Patreon has a bunch of extra content. Bets of the week for NFL and college football did pretty well on those this past week. Junior score predictions, updated playoff predictions, all that is updated every single week. A lot of you showing your support on there. Appreciate you very much. First game, the Bears, off a 6-game losing streak. They end a 6-game losing streak in dominating fashion, so I don't know if anybody was expecting that one. The defense, I was starting to get a little worried about for the Bears because I don't know what was going on. They weren't really playing like themselves. I know the Packers are a very good offensive team. That was a couple weeks ago. But last week letting the Lions score a whole bunch of points. So I thought the Texans could do some damage there. But the Bears defense kind of looked back to normal and maybe even better than that. They had a dominating performance here. 7 points to the Texans. That's just impressive. You know, the Texans are... I know their record doesn't really – they're better than their record shows. So this was a really good performance by the Bears in general, but specifically their defense, you know, holding them to 7 points, stopping them on the goal line, not allowing Deshaun Watson to get in the end zone. I know A.J. McCarron had to come in, but just dominating performance. Roquan Smith was everywhere. He's having a very good season. You know, the pressure on the quarterback's been very underwhelming the last few weeks, but they got it going, you know, this week against the Texans. You know, Mario Edwards even got things going, so – yeah, it was a really good defensive performance. I mean, just to hold the Texans 7 points. But the offense got things going as well. David Montgomery's been running well. The Packers game, the Lions game, and then this game, they're getting going, you know, and running the ball. And that it just shows, you know, across the league, we're learning that running, you know, people are starting to devalue the running back position, but running game is so important. It opens things up for the entire offense. You know, it keeps the defense on their toes, keeps them guessing. You know, you don't want to become one-dimensional. So they're able to run the ball, and that's, you know, open things up for the passing game, open things up for the quarterback, Trubisky. You know, he had some pretty good throws. He had probably his better game of the year here. He made some good throws. The Texans, man, just not a lot of effort in the tackling department. Some very poor angles. We've kind of seen that this season. So disappointing performance for them. It felt like they've kind of lost life. And we talked about that going into the week. Two teams that, you know, will they be lifeless out there, you know, because what's going on? The Bears were not. The Texans were. So credit to the Bears to keep things rolling. They're still in the playoff hunt. They've been doing their job on offense, defense. Yeah, good to see them get back on track. Big game against the Vikings this week, so that's huge. There, Texans, yeah, it's all over for the Texans. Season ends with getting dominated by the Chicago Bears, who were just fresh off a 6-game losing streak. So that's not a good way to go out, but they got some work to do. Another thing is, overall, this is a good thing for the Bears. Let's get that out of the way. You know, with the Vikings losing, with the Niners losing, you know, teams like that, they're back in the playoff hunt. They actually are. You know, at 7 seeds up for grabs. It's a little surprising, but it is. So overall, it's a good thing. But, you know, I kind of woke up this morning. Is this? I know some Bears fans are probably thinking the same thing. Is this almost a negative thing? Because having a game like this. It's really going to depend on what they do with the rest of the season. But having a game like this, is this going to keep this staff around? You know, give them another shot. I feel like this happens to a lot of teams at the end of every single season. Like, oh, they look pretty good at the end of the year. You know, do we give them another shot? I think that happens too often. You cannot forget the 6-game losing streak they went on, and the one and only goal. And I'm probably gonna say this about a couple teams or a couple players this week, maybe. The ultimate one goal is to win the Super Bowl. And, I still think, and I know most of the fan base was hashtag fire Nagy, hashtag fire Pace. So I know they're hoping that the organization can't really change their mind. We don't know where their mind was at. But basically, could this be a negative thing for the offseason? I guess we're going to see what they do the rest of the year. But they do need change there. They definitely still need change. But that's a big dominant win there for the Bears. Yeah, I don't have too much on this one. I was very confident about the Cowboys winning this game because of the matchup. We've seen the Cowboys upset the Vikings a few weeks ago, and they put up a lot of points. And I talked about this. The main reason for that is because the Vikings couldn't get any pressure, and the Cowboys actually can play. There's teams that can't get pressure. They can have success on offensively, and that was kind of the thing going in this game. The Bengals don't really get pressure, and the Bengals aren't full strength on offense, and the Cowboys were able to get pressure, and the Cowboys were actually able to force the Bengals to turn the ball over. So yeah, it was a dominating performance for them. The game was all right from the get-go there, forcing some turnovers. DeMarcus Lawrence, who was quiet last year, who was quiet most this year, really starting to turn things around the last more than a few weeks, really. So he had another big game there. But yeah, there's not much to get into out this one. They were able to get going. Dalton was able to spread the ball out. I thought Zeke would have a bigger game in a game like this. Nothing too crazy. Not that he had a bad game, but yeah, they controlled this game. The Bengals just really couldn't do much of anything. They had a touchdown taken away at one point towards the end of the game. Then Brandon Allen on fourth down threw the ball out of the end, threw it away on fourth down. Didn't like that, but trying to remember. Just a straightforward game here. The Cowboys, expected them to win. I was confident winning, but not in this dominating fashion. So that's good. They're still fighting for the spot in the NFC East. Can they catch up? That's the question. But yeah, pretty straightforward stuff on that one. I think the Cowboys, a game they should win. They dominated them, so good for them. Chiefs and Dolphins, pretty wild game. Really early on, it looked like the Dolphins were gonna romp them. That's what it felt like. Even though we all know it's the Chiefs, they can take over at any given time. I think we all know that. But the Dolphins creating turnovers on Patrick Mahomes, which is kind of rare. I talked about teams could run the ball on the Dolphins. It's a good defense. If you want to beat them, you got to be able to run the ball at a pretty high level. They're stopping Edwards-Helaire. Chiefs can't really get Edwards-Helaire going. Tua's making some good throws downfield. Sometimes he had a good game. Tua had a pretty damn good game there. Receivers let him down at times. Gesicki did, make some big time plays for him at the same time. One touchdown he had, that ball could have been picked, I guess. But Tua had a pretty good game, getting outside the pocket, throwing on the run, getting more plays going downfield. And it's good that they understand, you playing the Chiefs, you have to do this. You have to. And there hasn't really been too much urgency, too much downfield action, play call-wise, I believe, from the Dolphins. But it's good to see them kind of step outside that, I don't want to say comfort zone, because I think, a guy like Tua can make the big plays downfield. He showed it. But it's good to see they're going that direction. But the Chiefs really, really just break loose. They take control of this game. Patrick Mahomes making play. The defense still making some plays. Tyrann Mathieu making plays. Yeah. So, it just shows it's crazy that a team can turn the ball over how many times? 4 times. And show you how good they are. Like, I don't know if that happens really. The Super Bowl, they had some, and that's at the highest of levels there. They had some unfortunate turnovers. Mahomes wasn't playing right, and they still win the game. So I guess that's the Chiefs have shown us before. But they have 4 turnovers, and they were up by 20 points at one time, and the game ended up being kind of close, but they were pretty comfortable. They had control of this game. It just kind of just shows how good they are, because there's every other team. If every other team turns the ball over that many times, they're losing the game because of that. And the Dolphins are a pretty good team, so. It's weird that we can credit a team for turning the ball over 4 times. We're not really crediting them, I guess, for turning the ball over 4 times, but it's pretty wild that it kind of shows how they're the best team in football. Like, no other team can overcome that. And but this is the bad thing. If you're going to turn the ball over 4 times in a Super Bowl or whatever it may be, a bigger game than this, even though it's a pretty big game, Dolphins are a good team, you're probably not going to win. So they got to clean that up. They got to get Edwards-Helaire going. They got to get the running game going some more. But, that Mahomes Tyreek Hill is just too dominant. The speed of the team, too dominant, whether it doesn't have to be Hill. It could be Hardman, whatever. It could even be Pringle, Speed kills. The Chiefs show that. They show in this game how they can overcome the negative plays, and how speed kills today's NFL. Defense can step up, make some plays. The Dolphins did their part defensively. But you can't say they didn't on offense. The offense played a pretty good game. It's just the Chiefs are better. That's what it is. The Dolphins are on the right track. They're going to be one of the teams of the future. So they lost the game. And I guess it's a negative. You turn a team over this many times, you should be able to do something. You should be able to win the game. So that's, in a way, that's a negative, but I think there's mostly positive. They got Tua going downfield. They could use some more weapons to be even better. Gesicki, though, is a weapon. He looks like a top 5 tight end. There's still room to grow, and they're able to play pretty well, show some promise. They got a playmaking defense. There's some negatives when you lose, obviously, but I like the positives here for the Dolphins going forward. So, Chiefs, they keep on rolling. They got the Saints next week. Looking forward to that one. Cardinals, Giants, that'll be a little closer. I did pick the Cardinals, and that'll be a little closer. The Cardinals defense, wow. Dominating performance. I talked about going the week. What's been going on the last few weeks? Why are we all down on the Cardinals? Not really because they're losing. That's the obvious, but I've been saying, I can't fully trust their offense or defense. At times, their offense is really good. At times, their defense is really good, but I can't trust them for a complete game, or I can't trust them for every week. Which one's going to show up this week, but it's a dominating performance of the defense. And offense didn't really do a whole bunch. Hopkins got back on track against a pretty good secondary here, so that's great. Murray, played okay. There's still moments where he's sloppy footwork, backing up too much, throwing off his back foot, and he gets away with it sometimes. There's not too many guys. There was times where he'll step into a sack, but he won't actually get sacked. He'll get out of it. He has so many plays that are kind of bad plays on him, but they end up being positive yards, positive gains. So it's kind of a bad and good, a negative positive thing there. Other quarterbacks won't be able to get away with it, but that's kind of a good thing. Like, he actually can get away with it because he's that talented. But there's a lot of things he still needs to clean up, but still a young guy, obviously. Drake got going pretty well. That was good. Dan Arnold's been really good, their tight end. And the Cardinals use the tight end less. This is kind of my takeaway here. Cardinals use the tight end less than anybody in football. They're using it more this year than they were last year. Last year was like they rarely used the tight end at all. But my takeaway is the Cardinals are in a pretty prime spot here. Teams aren't game planning really for them to use the tight end that much, and then Dan Arnold being better than expected, and being actually a weapon, they're in a prime spot to really throw teams off again. They kind of had the game plan factor because it was more of a college style offense. How you got a game plan for stopping Kyler Murray on the run, but then he can sling it to Hopkins, his guys. They can run with Drake. So it's hard to game plan for, but teams have really, over time, you start to get used to it. You watch more film. You start to find the weaknesses. Teams have done that. But now you're in a prime position just to throw a heavy tight end, throw the tight end in there even more and really throw teams' game plan off. So they're actually in position to, again, throw some teams off there. So we'll see if they take advantage. Kingsbury hasn't really been too, I really haven't been too thrilled with it. The system. Honestly, I think the system's good. I think the game plan is actually good. Going into games, I don't really mind it. Just the play calling and game management within games, I thought he had a pretty good game here. Even early on when they got stopped in the goal line, I thought he had some good play calls there. So I thought that was kind of on Murray. I think it was the 4th down play. He just sold the fake too much, was kind of hiding the ball for too long. He could have just ran out there. He was kind of just insisting on the one read and selling the fake, but nothing major. They ended up winning the game, ends up having a good game. But Kingsbury has potential to run this offense. He has potential. He's got the system in place, but now he has potential, to use the tight end a little more. But defensively, they had a fantastic game. The whole defense as a unit, but they were able to get pressure. Hassan Reddick, I love seeing him. 5 sacks. That's a franchise record there. See him emotional after the game. That was fantastic. And you understand why he's emotional, This guy was an edge rusher from Temple. I had him graded as a first-round edge rusher. They draft him. We're thinking solid pick. It's about where I thought he would go. Around that range. He should be a solid player. And they move him to inside linebacker. And I was confused at the time. If you're with us at the time, very confused. Not an inside linebacker, he's an edge rusher. And he was looking like a bust because of that. And they changed coaching staffs to get Vance Joseph in there. They're like, we got to put this guy at edge rusher. This guy's an edge rusher. And he started playing a little bit last year there. And now this year, full-time, finally full-time, full-season edge rusher. He's got 10 sacks on the year. He had 5 in that game. He can play edge rusher. He can play. We knew that out of Temple, so I love to see that. And he's actually got potential there because he doesn't have a whole lot of time there. And he's going to be a free agent, I believe, though, so they may have to bring him back. The Giants' offensive line, we knew for the most part of the year, not good. Bad. But they actually started picking it up recently. They actually really started picking it up. They started growing, improving, and now this game, disaster game. Colt McCoy came in through 3 passes and was sacked 2 times, that it wasn't a good performance from the offensive line, but a good day for the Cardinals pass rush, their defense. Daniel Jones fumbling the ball some more. That just can't happen. You got to control the ball. The Giants were actually the one thing they had going. Wayne Gallman was actually pretty effective running the ball, but they were just down so much. Early in the game, it wasn't really getting out of control early in the game. So I think the Giants could have ran the ball a little more to Gallman because he was actually getting some yards, some decent. He was pretty effective. So that was kind of their mistake, but they did get down where they couldn't really run the ball. The Cardinals took that away, made them one-dimensional, which made it easier to rush the passer, easier to make plays, so credit to them again. That's a big-time win for the Cardinals. They needed that. They're back in the playoffs as of now. That's a huge win there. A game they really should win, though. I know we thought it was kind of a 50-50 game, but a game they should win. But dominating performance of that defense. The Vikings and the Buccaneers. History was made in this game. History was made. Dan Bailey, the first kicker in the last 55 years to miss 3 kicks and an extra point and not have a make. So that's pretty bad. That's 10 points left off in the field because of Dan Bailey. Not a single make, missed an extra point, 3 field goals. And then the first time in 20 years, a defensive pass interference was called on a Hail Mary. So that was wild. You never really seen that called unless it's a mauling. I think the only thing, Todd Davis didn't really turn his head, I guess. But there was a little bit of touching between Gronk, and there really wasn't. I don't think that was pass interference on a normal play, let alone a Hail Mary. So that was interesting. So the Bucs got 3 points on that one. But in the officiating, people weren't thrilled with the officiating in this game. But was that why the Buccaneers won? I don't really think so. Officiating, it wasn't good, but yeah, I don't really think that's why they won. But at the same time, the Buccaneers didn't really do a whole bunch offensively. Tom Brady had a good ball downfield. He was either not seeing guys wide open or missing guys wide open, so they had some points left off in the field as well. Brady needs to hit those. I think he missed Godwin wide open, or he didn't see him at one point. He was missing some simple throws. They didn't really do a whole bunch offensively. I thought they would do more offensively. I guess the positive, they still won the game. They didn't really need to, so that's kind of the positive. But yeah, there's some things they got to work on there. I thought they defensively is where they won the game. Defensively, the Vikings were the best red zone offense going into this game, and the Buccaneers clutched up. I don't know if it was always in the red zone, but as soon as the Vikings got into Buccaneers territory, they clutched up. They played a really good game. They got a lot of pressure. Shaq Barrett had a pretty good game rushing inside and out. Some other guys stepped up big as well. Antoine Winfield Jr. was all over the place, playing against his dad's former team there. So pretty cool. He had a pretty big game. I think he had a strip sack at the end. The Vikings offensive line seems back to normal. I know they had some guys coming in and out of the game, so that didn't help. But there was a stretch during their streak where the offensive line was, I was like, who is this offensive line? What have you done with the Vikings offensive line? Because it was playing good. It was actually playing good. And they're known as one of the worst offensive lines in football. And last week against the Jaguars, I kind of talked about that. That's not a pass rush that you should be looking bad against. So I knew it was starting to come back down to earth here, back to normal. In a game like this shows that Cousins had no time, had absolutely no time. I thought Cousins played a pretty good game. He's running more, he's escaping pressure more. Tough task in this game. Oh yeah, I did see Cousins was pressured 24 times in this game. Tom Brady three times pressure, and I talked about that. The Vikings the way they sit, may have the worst pass rush in football right now, and that's why they lost the Cowboys game. That's why they're going to lose a game like this. So you can't really blame the refs. The refs weren't good, but I see a lot of people, the Vikings lost because the refs and because Dan Bailey. I don't know if they lost because the refs. I'm not on board with that, really. I'm not saying the officiating was good. They didn't lose because the refs. There's a lot of things. They can't get pressure. 3 pressures on Brady is just unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And I've been saying the pressure's bad, and people are trying to tell me otherwise last few weeks. That was kind of getting on me. This might be the worst in football. I know Danielle Hunter's not in there. People bring up Michael Pierce. He's not really going to get pressure. He's going to make them better because of the run-stopping ability. But yeah, the pressure's non-existent. It's bad. It's not going to get. They're not going to go anywhere because of that. That's the main thing. The offensive line's not good either. As bad as the offensive line is, as bad as Dan Bailey was, the worst thing about this team is the pass rush. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, 3 pressures on Tom Brady it's unacceptable. It's really unacceptable. Another thing, early in the game, out of the play calling, the game plan was great for the Vikings offensive staff there, the offensive game plan in general. Buccaneers, the corners tend to play off. They're playmakers that can play off the ball. So they were getting the ball out quick. They saw something to use Abdullah quite a bit, and I like that. They were getting the ball to Abdullah in the flat. It ended up working. They look like geniuses out there. Just getting quick passes in the flat. We're not going to let the pass rush be a factor. This is what beats the Buccaneers. It looks great. They're managing the time of possession. They're draining the clock. Cook's getting going, but they can't punch the ball in the end zone really, and they can't. They're missing the field goals as well. So that wasn't good, I suppose. But the game plan looked great. But then all of a sudden it flipped. You see this? The Vikings' number one goal is the clock, win the time of possession, gain some yards, get some points, and I was about to say when that backfires, it really backfires, but it wasn't really backfiring because they were controlling the game. They had more production on offense, and they still weren't able to do anything. And they changed their game plan completely. They started running long developing plays, and that resulted in the Buccaneers being able to get pressure and sack Kirk Cousins. There was, before Bailey's last missed field goal, which there was one in there they shouldn't have kicked. They should have punted the ball because the guy was missing everything. But the last one you pretty much had to kick. But before that, they had a second down, and the Vikings ran an RPO play. RPO. The Vikings don't run RPO. They ran an RPO play, so Cousins has got to, read the defense, looking like you're going to hand the ball off there. And that is longer developing, and it's a sack. It ends up being a deep sack. The play hasn't really started yet before he's sacked, and on third down, he's sacked again. So I thought the game plan, play calling early looked great. Maybe the best of the year for the Vikings. Second half, the worst of the year. It was pretty terrible in decision to send Bailey back out there at times. I know the last time they pretty much had no choice. Just confusing coaching decisions there for the Vikings. Offensive line let them down. Kicker let them down. The pass rush, it really let them down. Buccaneers defense, big time game for them. That's the strength of the team is defense. Pretty crazy. Brady's got to hit some of those open throws. The deep ball for a touchdown was fantastic though. That's pretty much it there. Disappointing game for the Vikings. I expected the Buccaneers to win that one. Similar scoreline. I just didn't really expect it to go down the way it went down maybe. But that's what the Buccaneers need to get rolling. Let's see if they can get rolling. The Broncos and Panthers, a lot more scoring in this game than expected. Is this a bad thing for the Broncos? Is this a bad thing? Drew Lock looked really good. He looked really good. Is this a bad thing? Are they going to be like, all right, we're going to stick with him a little more? And if you have to stick with him, if you can't really don't force it. You can't find a quarterback. You can't find a quarterback. But again, the ultimate goal is Super Bowl. Can Drew Lock be a Super Bowl quarterback? I think you got to keep searching for a quarterback, even though Lock could have the games like this. You can't just get attached to the guy because of a game at the end of the year that's really meaningless, really. He had a good game, though. KJ Hamler, big-time game. You see the speed of KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy. The Panthers typically don't run man coverage. They run a lot of cover 3. And then when you play the Broncos, when you play Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, you don't run man coverage. You just don't. I don't care who you are. And the Panthers decide to run a little more man coverage than they normally do. Backwards. That is backwards. And that's where Jeudy. That's where he's get those highlights from at Alabama. A lot of defenses running man coverage. He's going to win with his footwork all day versus man coverage. He's been struggling when he's been going against a lot of zone coverage. So that was confusing. And speed typically beats man coverage as well. I see Hamler dangerous downfield or just dangerous getting open in general. So the Broncos are big with that. Drew Lock. I've been really liking Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon's been playing a really good football. Look like the old Melvin Gordon, the way he's moving, the way he's hitting the hole. So that's great to see. Melvin Gordon's been fantastic. I don't know. I don't know if he really went off in this game. It's just if you watch the runs, his actual movement, the actual reps. He looks good. He looks good. So that's fantastic. Defense got pressure. It's a weird game, though, because the Broncos completely outplayed the Panthers. They completely outplayed them. But they were kind of letting the Panthers back in the game. The Panthers had a whole bunch of chances in this game, but it really shouldn't have been. It's kind of the positive and negative for the Broncos. Drew Lock looked great. Gordon looked good. Hamler, Dewey looked great. They were without Garrett Bowles. So that winning like that, scoring 32 points, that looks good. Defense got pressure. Defense made some big plays here and there. But the negative is, how are they letting the Panthers in the game still? So that's kind of weird. Panthers, I'm just not thrilled with the coaching in this game, which is the coaching staff that I kind of like, but deciding to go more man coverage offensively, some interesting play calls. They're not really trusting, and I'm not really thrilled with Teddy Bridgewater either. If you look at the stats, it may look like he had a decent game. I guess with that many attempts, probably should have more yards. But the stats may show he probably, if you didn't watch the game, if you look at the stats, it may say, yeah, Teddy played pretty well. I don't really think he did. I like Teddy, but the last several weeks, I know he's probably playing hurt, but I don't know. You got to find ways. If you're on the field, you find ways. Last several weeks have not been good for Teddy Bridgewater. So that contract's starting to come into question, I guess, there. But the play calling hasn't been good. It seems like all year, in games where the Panthers, you think they should win, or if it was big games, we're at the point where nothing's really a big game anymore, but when they were big games in the past, it felt like when they badly needed to convert first down, whatever this play is, they needed a play here. They needed something here. They need to get in the end zone here. They just can't do it. They can't do it. I've noticed that from time to time, again, here throughout these games, in the big games or the games that could go either way, in the big moments, they can't do it. Their big plays come from their random times. They're random when they're least expected, and they're random. They're not consistent. That's my takeaway from the Panthers this season. And I'm not as thrilled with the play callers or just the coaching in general as I thought I would be. I'm still confident for the future, of course. I like Matt Rule. I like Joe Brady. But they had some chances there. They just can't convert on the big plays. That's really my takeaway. Defensively, I'm not thrilled with the defense either. Jeremy Chin, he's a playmaker. He makes big plays. The defense in general, they'll give up some yards. They'll give up some points. They're a young defense. It's okay. And they'll get their hands in the ball, though. They'll make plays. So I guess that's kind of good. But there's just I've had a problem with this team with their angle tackles and just tackling in general. That's that's one of the first for me. It's personal. I mean, it's preference, for each person. If you consistently show me you can't get good angles and tackle properly, I got a problem. And that's why I don't like this defense. Chin can make a big play, great play here and there, but some of these angles, it's not just him, but for a lot of these players, like, you can make these plays here and there. I think people get too hyped on that. They got to go back to the basics. They got to get more consistent. So either they kind of lost the game on that too, and allowing too much separation there defensively. So this defense, it's a defense that, it's so young and it's fresh coaching staff that you'd think it should be good for the future. But I don't know if it's a defense that I can trust to stay consistent. It's going to get better in the future, don't get me wrong, but there's basic things that I don't know if they're coachable, and I don't know if they will improve. So they do still need to add more on defense. That's my point there. So a lot of questions about the Panthers going forward there. That's why it hurts me a little bit, because there's a team I like Teddy. I like everything about it's a team of the future. I like the coaching staff, but then you question so much of it. Is Teddy the guy for the future? Can McCaffrey stay healthy? They need DJ Moore out there. That's another thing. DJ Moore is great. He's better. I think he's underrated. He's very good. Can the defense hold up? Is it just going to be, you kind of get the feeling where it's going to be kind of hot and cold even in the future? It's supposed to be a team of the future, but there's so many things you have to question, and that's not good right now. That's not good. So I'm not really thrilled about the Panthers right now. Not really thrilled where they're at. Quick one here, Titans, Jags. Titans just a much better team. They take care of business. Derrick Henry, seriously, a serious candidate for MVP. He's been fantastic, showing that him and Dalvin Cook, a little bit of a battle. Still debatable who's the best running back, but Derrick Henry pulling away, there. So serious candidate there. Dominant game. They couldn't tackle him, but he's the Jaguar killer. It's kind of what we see. We've seen in the past. A.J. Brown, fantastic. One-handed grab, fantastic. Tannehill didn't do a whole bunch when they needed him to do. Make big plays. He's making big plays. Defensively, Malcolm Butler's been playing a lot better. He's been playing a lot better. He's something that's standing out to me. Last few weeks, he's been playing better. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward stuff. Minshew came in. He actually marched down the field. I mean, he's their better quarterback probably. Marched down the field, scored, but obviously not the answer for the future. Jaguars still kind of in that tank mode. Good game. Good. It's what the Titans needed. Turn around. I will say they got up 7-0 off a crazy A.J. Brown catch. They got some momentum. They kind of got cold a little bit there, though, in a little bit. Just something minor because they end up pulling away. But it felt like they thought they were going to win 7-0 there for a second. So I think they had like a 4th and 2, and they ran into McNichols. I like Arthur Smith a lot, but I think he's good for one of those confusing calls in those types of situations in a game where I think you kind of overthink things. But that's just minor part of this game. Dominant win for the Titans. It's what they needed. So they get back on track there. Jaguars still in the Justin Fields sweepstakes, I guess. Colts and Raiders. This is one of my bigger takeaways of the week, I think. Right here, going into this game, Colts Raiders. This was such a big game, the biggest game of the week probably for playoff implications. A lot on the line for the playoffs here. That's because the winner, their playoff chances skyrocket. The loser, they go down. I don't know if they plummet. They go down quite a bit. But both these teams going into this game in the same boat. One team's got one more win than the other. They're in the same range here. Like, they're not the same team, really. There are some similarities here and there. We talked about that during the week. But in terms of how we view them as I guess a team in the playoffs or making the playoffs, can they squeak into the playoffs? It's a team that we kind of viewed as is one that much better than the other going in this week. But we learned that was kind of wrong. The Colts are they've proven in this game that they're the much better team. They're a lot better than the Raiders, and they showed that in this game. They're just a much better team. And sometimes, it's just every game is different. Every matchup is different, and you could think it's just a bad matchup for the Raiders, perhaps. Usually that's how it is. You see, even when there's upsets, it was just a bad matchup. This team's better I'm not saying this is an upset, but I'm just kind of giving examples here. But I didn't really get that feel that it was just a matchup or just that Sunday, that type of Sunday game where the Colts beat the Raiders. I got the feeling that the Colts are just a much better team. And that really, if you're the Raiders, that really shouldn't be. You're supposed to be in the same area as this team. The Colts just proved that they're just a better team. That's my takeaway. I think plain and simple. They ran the ball extremely well. Jonathan Taylor got going. Raiders got a serious problem in run defense there. I thought, again, I don't know what the stats say game by game, and I'm sure he had a better a better game statistically. I thought this was maybe Phillip Rivers' best game of the year. I really liked what Phillip Rivers was doing in this game, and I think there's just too many stat watchers out there that'll probably tell me I'm wrong, just based on that. But if you actually watch the game, actually watch the movement in the pocket, what he does, what he changes to play at the line, if he's getting outside the pocket, throwing the run, the ball placement, all of that, I thought. I could be forgetting a lot of games that I'm watching for every team, but I thought this might have been Phillip Rivers' best game. I don't know if he did anything that special. I think maybe he kind of did. That it'll kind of go unnoticed. I thought he was putting some balls in some tight spots. The pocket movement was great, kind of even throwing on the run. Not like full speed roll all the way out of the pocket like, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, not like guys like that, but he was doing a fantastic job, I thought. Downfield, pushed the ball downfield a little more, controlling the game. I was really happy with Phillip Rivers' game here. I think I kind of will go unnoticed. The thing with the Colts, I love where their offense is going. This is all year. We were learning their defense is the identity. It's a legit part of this. It's a legit defense, actually. That's what we were kind of learning mainly most the first half of the season, or all the first half of the season. And we kind of wonder, can the offense keep up this week? Is this going to be a week where they turn the ball over, where they can't keep up? That's kind of what we're wondering. But we're sitting here going into week 15, and I'm really liking this offense. There is a negative thing. They could turn the ball over. That's not the negative thing. They could turn the ball over to cost them. But it's at the point where they're not really different than the rest. Any team can do that. So they're actually controlling that. The negative is, it's not a big negative. The negative is they almost have to run the ball to kind of open things up to get things going, even though Rivers can make almost all the throws. I'm thrilled with him. But if they're in a game where somebody just shuts down the run, how will they be? I guess that's a negative. But my takeaway right now is the Colts offense is improved. Phillip Rivers seems improved. They're improved right now. They're just getting going on offense. That's the great thing. Defensively, I still like their defense, but it's not as good. In second half of games, they're really good for some reason. Second half of games, they're good. But the defense is, and I almost want to say it's nowhere near as good as it was in the first half of the season. And that is, I talked about a few weeks ago, I talked about they're the best cover 2 zone team in football. There's a couple of cover 2 man teams. Cover 2 zone team in football. They are the best defensive cover 2 zone team in football. But I'm not a big cover 2 guy. And I think we're starting to see that. We're starting to see you can game plan for it. So the more the film comes out, teams can. It's still a good defense. They make big-time plays in the right moments. Kenny Moore's been a stud, absolute stud. They got a lot of studs on the defense, and we can name them here. Sit them here and name them. That's besides the point. And they make big plays. They know how to get near the ball, get their hands on the ball. They're still a very good defense. But teams are starting to game plan, which it makes sense. It makes sense. You can game plan. You can start to learn how to move the ball. And against a good Raiders offense, this is a really good game. It's a really good game for the Colts defense. But teams are starting to figure that out a little bit. But if I wanted it, which way do I want it? Do I want the Colts first half of the season or the Colts second half of the season? I like this Colts team. I'm higher on the Colts. I like this offense, a high-powered offense all of a sudden. I know the Raiders don't have the best defense, but I like where the Colts are heading. But my point is, don't be surprised if teams start scoring a little more points in the Colts than they were in the first half of the season. Teams are starting to game plan for it. It's just how NFL works when the season goes on. But I like where this offense is heading. And they got the Steelers in a couple weeks, and that's looking like they could be the favorites of that game. So I like where they're heading. Yeah, I mentioned Kenny Moore. That was a big-time play. In the red, that could have changed the game. The Colts were still just the better team on, I think, every phase in this game, so they still would have won the game. But that was a huge play, a ridiculous play. Kenny Moore, he's been fantastic. Sikari Willis had a big time interception too. Was that one-handed? Reactions just crazy on that. The Raiders, I don't know. Aguilar got going. I don't know if Derek Carr really played. He put too much air under the Kenny Moore interception. That was a really ridiculous interception. The other interception went through somebody's hands. The defense just let them down. They just weren't good. And it's hard to blame the offense at all, and I can't really blame the offense at all. But you got outdueled by the Colts. You got outdueled. That offense was better. And that's a team where your offense probably should be better, honestly. Debatable, I guess, but it wasn't really close. The Colts were just the all-around better team. So the Raiders are starting to go cold a little bit in the wrong time, so that's unfortunate. They fire Paul Gunter. I don't know if that'll be an answer. Defense, they got some promising young guys on their team, but they're not there right now. Jets Seahawks. This is actually, it's gonna sound funny because it's the Jets, but I like that. This is a big game for the Seahawks. This is big for the Seahawks. It's what they needed after that disappointing loss against the Giants, and everybody plays the Jets. Is everybody out there putting going 40-3 against the Jets? Playing that well on defense, playing that well on offense. When Geno Smith comes in late third quarter, my point is they got to put a lot more points. They got to catch some interceptions. They dropped some interceptions, but. And they didn't play a full offensive game because they didn't need to. My point is, with those two things, they could have really won this game. This could have been a Bama versus FCS team or whatever. So it's a dominating win. It's a good momentum win. I know it's the Jets. You can't really have any major takeaways from this game. You can't be like, oh, the offense is improved, the defense is improved. You can't say that from this game. You can't. But it's a good momentum win. It's a dominating win. It's great. But it's still, and this is a game they should dominate, but you don't expect them to win 40-3. That's a big-time game. But the question still is, do they have matchup problems with teams? You see the Giants play tight defense, good defense. They ran a lot of stunts. They blitz more than they normally do. And the Seahawks offense, that's their identity. It's the offense. But you can slow down this offense. Team like the Giants, team like defensive teams, like maybe Washington, who they play this week, they can slow them down, and almost any team could put points up, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a lot, against Seattle. And that really isn't a championship team. Can they get out of that? Can they do that? So big test against Washington this week. I think it's a momentum game where they can help them get out of that, take that step to get out of it. Washington, it's a matchup similar to the Giants. The defense that can slow them down. They got to worry about that defensive front that can get after them. But it's a game the Seahawks should win, really. So it's gonna be a statement game. It's gonna be a statement game. But this is a good momentum one, dominant win for them. Darnold's lucky to have I don't know how many interceptions in this one. That's my takeaway. Packers-Lions, I predicted a 7-point game. Ends up being a 7-point game. A little less scoring than I expected. The Packers just take care of business. I'm not thrilled with the Lions play calling in this one. We were all hyped on it with Bevel taking over the against the Bears against a good defense. It was great, high-powered offense. They only ran the ball. The Lions only ran the ball, I think, 15 times, top of my head. 15 times total against a weak run defense. The Packers, that's why it's crazy, because the Packers are a contender. It's a really good football team. We all know that. But they have a weakness, a pretty glaring weakness. It's run defense. So you think, if you're playing this really good team, you got to go for their weakness. And they were down most of this game, but they weren't down enough where you can't run the ball. That wasn't the case. Maybe at the end they had to get 14 points in X amount of time, 10 minutes, 11 minutes, whatever it was. Then I understand, I suppose. But the rest of the game, they were tied. They were only down 7. What was it, 14 halftime? You need to be running the ball more. You got to be running the ball more. So I'm not happy with that. Other than that, it was a pretty back and forth game. The Packers were making plays. Rodgers making throws. Devontae Adams playing like arguably the best receiver in football right now. I thought Marquez Valdes-Scantling played a really good game. He was, you see him, he's good for a couple deep shots a game and making big plays on that. Sometimes he drops the ball. He'll normally drop the ball on the easier plays underneath when they try to get him going there. So they kind of just don't get him going there. But they did. They got him going kind of in the flat, underneath, across the field, and he was playing very well there. So you like to see that. Solid game from Tonyan as well. I thought Aaron Jones would go a little crazier against this Lions run defense. I think he could have, honestly. The Packers could have ran the ball to Jones a little more. I like Jamal Williams, a really good running back too. Maybe they split that a little too much. Sometimes they do that. But I thought there was big moments where the Lions did stop the run better than expected. Not that it was that good. But, I think they were efficient. The average was pretty good for Jones and Williams. So maybe they could have ran the ball a little more. But the passing was effective. Sometimes I get this feeling with the Packers where, they probably should have scored 40-plus points in this game. And the Lions were kind of sticking around, so why didn't they? And kind of last week, why didn't they put the Eagles away? That's kind of what you wonder with the Packers. And then when they play the really good teams in the NFC in the playoffs, they got to make sure they put them away because they can. I think they have the capabilities. So the Lions actually had a shot. They were fighting, getting back in the game. Stafford didn't end up getting hurt. Seems like an every year thing now. Nothing major, but. So we'll see if he plays next week. Marvin Jones had a ridiculous catch, body control toe drag towards the end of the game, in the fourth quarter, and they reviewed that, and I thought you can freeze frame it and make it pretty clear that he caught it, and actually called it incomplete. I don't think this would have changed. Would have changed it a little bit. The Lions would have had more time. They may not have had to kick the onside kick at the end. So. Who knows? I've been confident with the Packers winning still, but my problem with that is the guy made a ridiculous play that not too many people can make, at the highest level here, and you take it away from him. That's where I get mad about it. You take that away from him. So that'll go down in the books, as a no catch when it was a fantastic play. You start to see Marvin Jones can play. That's not a catch people can make, receivers can make. I seem to get Kenny Galladay. I think people use the Stafford doesn't have enough help weapons too much. I know Galladay's not in the field, but he does have some guys out there, But Stafford he's played well in this game. The last game he played very well. They just couldn't pull it off in the end. The Packers just a better team here. Saints, Eagles. The Eagles pull off the upset. I mean, all those games that Carson Wentz had a shot to win and can't beat mediocre teams. And then Jalen Hurts steps in here, gets his first start, and beats the New Orleans Saints. Interesting stuff. The most interesting, maybe the biggest takeaway, the biggest fact of the day, of Sunday, Jalen Hurts was not sacked a single time. While the Saints were on their run, their streak, they were getting more quarterback pressure than anybody in football. Any defense in football, they were, could sit down and debate, do they have the best pressure unit, pass rush in football? Probably not. They've been very good, though. They've been very good. They actually got pressure in this game, And they didn't sack Jalen Hurts one time because he was able to escape it. Now, that is the difference between Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz right now. Carson Wentz, and people were kind of arguing it, the Eagles' offensive line is just really bad. It's beat up, and it's not good. It's nowhere near the worst in football the way it is. And it's their fault. Sacks happened at times, but a lot of those sacks were on Wentz. Holding the ball too long, stepping into sacks, just forgetting about pressure, not acknowledging pressure, no awareness. And we saw that in a game like this. Wentz would have been sacked a lot in this game, and Jalen Hurts was not. So you see his athletic ability, his instincts getting outside the pocket. I mean, his throw on the run game was fantastic too. The running ability was great. You see he's fast. I think the strengths are quick, and he's a strong runner, but then he has some speed too. Just a combination of all that. He's a good runner, and the Saints really couldn't do much about it. I thought this was Miles Sanders' debatably his best game of his career. And there might have been games where he had more yards. He ran for a lot more yards in another game. But watching him, the running back position, I'm looking for, no hesitation, vision, hitting the hole, seeing the hole, hitting the hole quick. And then get the bonuses after the fact, after the hole, making people miss. I thought the combination of all that, I thought was great. I thought Miles Sanders had maybe the best game of his young career because of those things. Because in the past, he'll have like these big, crazy plays here and there, but within that same game, maybe he'll have a fumble, maybe he'll drop a ball or two. He'll hesitate in the backfield a little bit, so he won't have a complete game, even though it was statistically a monster game. I thought this was a complete game. I thought this was a really great, promising game from Miles Sanders, and we see him. He's basically saying Jalen Hurts is bringing the energy for him, guys like him, the team, after the game. So it's good to see. So it's pretty obvious at this point that Jalen Hurts' move should have been made a long time ago. And they could be sitting at the top of the NFC East if that was the fact. And they're still not. I love the way Washington's defense is playing. It's a great defense. That front is getting better and better. I think the Eagles are the best team, the talent-wise, in the NFC East as it sits. I think it's the Cowboys if the Cowboys are healthy. But the way it sits, take away the record, I think the Eagles are easily the best NFC East team. And it's kind of been hidden for some time. And you make a QB change, and it's not hidden anymore. Is it too late, though? Is it too late? Even Doug Peterson called a better game because he wasn't restricted. There's some people out there, not too many. Some people think, for some reason he decided to call a better game for Jalen Hurts. This is not it. It's just ludicrous if you think that. He wasn't restricted in his play calling. He was able to call a better game. Things were opened up because of Jalen Hurts, because he was able to escape pressure and not make the team one-dimensional. That was it. It helped Doug Peterson be a better coach. I wish this was made a long time ago. The Saints, man, I don't know what to take away from the Saints. I was starting to kind of feel them too. This could be just a random bump in the road. It's just a random game. Just happen to lose. They're on a good streak. Just an off game, I guess, is what I'm getting to. It could be. I don't know. Taysom Hill had his moments that weren't good, but I don't know if it was an atrocious game. It wasn't really anywhere near that. I don't get the feeling from this game. From watching it, that if Drew Brees played, would they have won? I don't get the feeling that they would have. They're better with Drew Brees. I'm not really getting that feeling. They could have. I wasn't really getting the feeling, so I'm not going to put too much on Taysom Hill here. I don't really know what to put it on. They were kind of just off. They were off their game. I suppose they were getting pressure like they normally do. They couldn't get to the quarterback and bring him down. But that's really not a knock on them. You can't really blame the Pat. Like, what did they do wrong? They didn't really do anything wrong. They were getting the pressure. They just couldn't. Jalen Hurts has played a better game. I think the Eagles just look like, are they the better team in general? Probably not. They look like the better team in this game. Plain and simple, I thought, which is crazy. But at the end, but backtrack. The Eagles are a talented team. They're more talented than the record shows. They were kind of getting held back before. So the Saints were getting pressure. The coverage wasn't bad. They were pretty tight in coverage. Hurts was making some accurate throws. They were beat. I mean, everyone, nothing out of the ordinary. I think the difference was tackling and angles. What I normally like the Saints for. they weren't too good. Miles Sanders had that big run. He had some big gains that resulted in clock draining and pretty good drives developing. They were missing the first tackle or taking a bad angle. They were taking angles like they thought Miles Sanders was slow. Even Jalen Hurts, when he would get out, the pursuits were just not good. So this was strange to see from the Saints. Is that something when they go against speed? And you kind of now when a game like this happens, you kind of look back, and they went on a good streak. They were playing really good football, and that's good no matter who you play. But they haven't really been tested. Now that you think about it, they haven't really been tested in this way. So this was kind of new to them, and maybe this showed some weaknesses that we haven't really been seeing for them. But they still got pressure, which will win them some games. Obviously, it has been winning them some games. They definitely could use Drew Brees back, but I don't know if this is on Taysom Hill. I don't know who to put this game on, really. Taysom Hill could have done things here and there. He got strip sack at one point. Josh Sweat, extremely underrated. But that's a play that most guys a lot of quarterbacks would get strip sack on, maybe not the great ones, or stripped on. Maybe got past the line of scrimmage on that. I can't remember. But I keep going back to, the Saints can play better. Sure. How much better can they play in a game like that? Not much. It just felt like in this game, the Eagles were just better. That's just what it felt like. So that's interesting. Interesting stuff there. We'll see when Drew Brees comes back. We'll see if we got a lot to learn here. Was that just an off game for the Saints? Can they get back on track? They got the Chiefs next week, so that's going to be tough. Can the Eagles, is it too late to catch up? They got some tough games coming up as well, so we'll see what that can happen there. Good comeback for the Saints, though. They almost came back this one. I wish the Eagles would just kind of put them away. That missed field goal at the end. The Saints, they got to score points in the first half, though. That's pretty bad. They got to score points there. I think that was a little off. They should be able to score points in the first half. But yeah, big time upset for the Eagles there. Falcons Chargers, the choke bowl. Matt Ryan, not a good game. Not a good game from Matt Ryan. Where do I start? Where do I start with this one? I think it's weird that the Falcons are a defensive team right now. They've been offensive team for so long. The defense has been bottom of the NFL for so long. It's pretty much the same defense on paper. They added a couple young guys. A couple young guys are getting better, I suppose. But for some reason, the defense, they're healthier, I guess, than normal. So the defense is playing, it's playing really good. It's playing really good football. Even games they lose. I know they gave up that. It's a little disappointing that they gave up the field goal yardage at the end, second half. That wasn't good. But the defense did enough to win this game. Defense playing really good football, even when they lose. Look at the Raiders game, look at the Saints games. They've been playing really good football. It's got to hurt as a Falcons fan. You had this great offense for so long, and the defense just sucked, and the coaching just sucked, and you blew games, and now it's just completely flipped. The defense in the second half of the season is doing enough to win them games, keeping them games, and the offense is just completely disappointing. It's got to hurt. It's got to hurt. And that gives me no confidence in the Falcons going forward because, is the defense, that's the thing, I love the way the defense is playing. AJ Terrell looks really good. There's a lot of guys look really good. But is this a really good defense? If we start a new year, are we gonna be confident that the Falcons are a really good defense? They're gonna continue to play like this. I guess they haven't played the best offenses recently. We're not gonna be confident, and it's gonna be, and maybe we'll be wrong. Maybe they can be a good defense, and they definitely can be. I'm not saying they won't be, but is it gonna be a consistent defense where every single week the defense can put them in position to win the game? It's not going to be. It's not going to be. They're healthier than they normally are right now too. So they're pretty fortunate, and it sucks to say that, but they're pretty fortunate on that side too. So is this defense going to be like this, consistently going forward? Are they going to be able to be the identity of this team every single week? I don't think so. While the offense is declining by a good amount, by a lot. So there is no promise. There is no confidence for me. I know fans will probably be overly confident. I'm just not confident about this team going forward. I am not right now, and obviously, and not going forward. Matt Ryan, I think he's about done. He needs Julio Jones to look good. Russell Gage threw one pass. That was a beauty, by the way. A bullet on a rope. Perfect throw. That was ridiculous. He threw the same amount of touchdown passes as Matt Ryan in one play. 17 points scored, one thrown by Russell Gage. I keep almost saying Harry Douglas, former Falcons receiver. I don't know why. Russell Gage, great throw. He's got 7 points. Matt Ryan threw a touchdown pass, got 7 points. Also threw multiple interceptions that ultimately cost them the game. That was it. That's all they can get going. On a team, the Chargers defense has been underwhelming, been disappointing. Team's been moving the ball. I mean, the Patriots, I know more than just their offense helped, but scored 45 damn points. Extremely disappointing. Matt Ryan, poor performance. I've been talking about it. I've been saying it's time to move on from Matt Ryan because it's a different era. You need a quarterback that can escape pressure, move outside the pocket when needed, throw on the run when needed. Matt Ryan really can't do any of that. It's just a different era. So it was almost saying they need, it's about done for Matt Ryan just because of the era. And even though he's still a good quarterback, but now I'm at the point where he's not really that good of a quarterback anymore on top of that. So they better be doing their homework for the quarterbacks. They better be, but defense is playing great, but am I extremely confident going forward? There's nothing that excites me about this team going forward. I'm going on a bit of a rant. It might sound harsh, but it's the truth. It's the truth right now. I know they, I guess, were still in the hunt, but I know it was not the most meaningful game, but it's just still extremely disappointing. Herbert didn't really play that great. I mean, he had a great clutch last drive. For the amount of times he threw the ball, though, he's playing small ball. Teams are taking away the deep ball. It's no really shot against him. The touchdown to Keenan Allen was a beautiful throw, too. Beautiful last drive. It's just kind of more of the Falcons. They stopped Herbert, and they weren't able to really do much there. I guess the Chargers defense stepped up. They made some good plays on the ball against Matt Ryan. I just think it's just no reason the Falcons shouldn't win this game. There's really no reason. So, Chargers win the choke bowl. They get clutch up. I didn't think they were gonna hit that field goal. He hits the field goal at the end. Big last drive for Herbert. It was more of just a rant on the Falcons. Well deserved though. The Falcons, they deserve that very much. So, moving on. Washington beats the 49ers without playing a lick of offense. So the Niners, we thought, and I guess technically they still are in the hunt, but some people thought they were going to sneak in the playoffs. You lose without the other team playing any offense. I don't think so. I'm not ruling them out, but another rant coming. Not as big of a rant. I mean, you're not going anywhere. There were some people shockingly just gaining this crazy confidence last week, or before the Bills game, maybe. Even after the Bills game, that was a really good team. We're gonna make it. No. I mean, I guess they can make it, but you're not going anywhere. Washington didn't do, and credit to the 49ers defense. Washington didn't do anything on offense. You lost. Not a good. I like Shanahan. Not a good game from him. Mostert was coming out being pretty efficient, and they stopped running the ball. They were very much in the game. For the most part, I mean, the whole game pretty much. They had to do a little bit of a comeback. They didn't quite get there, obviously. They should have been running the ball more. That was effective. Keeping the ball in Mullins' hands, not it. Some receivers were dropping the ball as well, but they were fumbling the ball, putting the ball on the ground. They had how many chances they have just because Washington couldn't do anything on offense. 49ers defense gave them chances, and they couldn't pull through. They just couldn't pull through there. So disappointing with the Niners there. Washington football team, that defensive front. Chase Young had the best game of his rookie season. Monster game. Had a touchdown. Montez Sweat, he's been a beast. Was a guy, I believe he was 7 on my big board a year ago. Chase Young was 2nd this year after Joe Burrow. So those guys are going to be something. They're going to be something going forward. And Jonathan Allen's been a little disappointing, but he's still a really good player. Deron Payne, fantastic nose tackle. They got Tim Settle as well. They got a bunch of guys that can ball out there. So that defense is going to be something. Rivera's got him balling, but that defensive front just talented no matter what there. Fantastic game from them. Looks like they got a steal with Cameron Curl as well. He's really good in the back end. They don't even have Landon Collins out there either. They're balling. Credit to them. Offensively, they just really couldn't get anything going. Alex Smith went down, so that hurt them a little bit. No Antonio Gibson. So they're not, the identity of this team isn't offense. We know that. Yes, it's disappointing. Yes, they should be able to get more yards, more points against a beat-up defense, but they weren't at their full strength. So I'm not extremely worried, but I'm also not extremely confident in the offense, even if it's fully healthy. They're not going to go out and win games. It's not the identity of the team. It's a little disappointing this game. I wish they can put this team away. The Niners had a million chances, so they can't let that happen. But that defense, man, that front again, Young and Montez Sweat. I mean, that whole front's going to be. That's the best of the future right there. Excited about that. Excited for the Seahawks game this week. It's a big game for them. They're in control. They control their own destiny right now. But you can't sleep on those other NFC East teams. The Eagles looking better. Beat the Saints. Giants, besides this week, looking pretty good. Cowboys won in dominating fashion, so watch out. But Washington controls their own destiny. Steelers and Bills, more ranting to happen here. I need some water. I need some water before this rant on the Steelers. Well, first off, good game for the Bills. This team's dangerous, legit team in the AFC. But they're better than the Steelers. They're just a better team than the Steelers. Josh Allen's looking good. There's some, throwing a ball off his back foot up for grabs. Calm down, Joshy. Calm down. But I still love me some Josh Allen, looking good. Stephon Diggs playing like maybe the best receiver in football. I think between him and Devontae Adams, maybe DeAndre Hopkins as well. DK Metcalf's not too far off. But these guys, Stephon Diggs playing like, forget the other guys, comparing the other guys to him. What he's putting on the field, he's playing like a number one receiver in football. He's been fantastic. They didn't really get Cole Beasley going as much as they usually do. And they're still able to produce. Stephon Diggs, again, playing great. They don't really have, the run game wasn't really bad. I don't know. There's something I got to look. I just want to look at the stats real quick. Nothing like pulling up the stats while I'm doing the recap video. What did they do on the ground? This doesn't change what I'm about to say. Moss, 43 yards, 3.3 average. Singletary, pretty good average, 4.6, 32 yards. Josh Allen ran for 28. Diggs was one for 1 yard rushing. They don't really need to run the ball. They could be better if they can get the run. And you see why Diggs wanted to come here. He wanted to be traded from a run-first clock management team to we're going to throw the piss out of the ball here. So you see why he wants to be here, why he's so effective, even though he was effective in Minnesota still. It's a really good team. It's tough to game plan for. There's really no game plan. You can game plan, but I've been saying that. You just got to go out there and execute and try to stop it. Hope Josh Allen makes a mistake. That's dominant offense. They were a little slow early. It was 0 points for a long time. Really, the Steelers outplayed the Bills for most of the first half. The Bills were still winning. So what do you say about that? It's a negative positive for the Bills. We got outplayed for most of the first half. We couldn't really put points on the board. We started a little slow. That's not good. But we were still winning, even though we were getting outplayed. That's positive because that just means you're a better team. We don't even need to be. We can get outplayed and we can still beat this team. You're just better. You're just better, plain and simple. I know the Steelers are missing some guys. Everybody's missing guys. Great teams find ways though. But they could have got going a little earlier. Defense was clutched up, making plays. Taron Johnson had a pick six, a good play, good job reading Big Ben's eyes. They played good. I don't want to take anything away from the Bills, the Bills defense because they played good. It was more bad offense though from the Steelers. The Steelers got a big problem right now. Huge problem. This is not the same team as they were maybe the best in football, the dominating team that we saw. And it's not because some guys were out of this game. I guess the pass rush actually. We'll get to that in a little bit. That could be because one person was out. You know where I'm getting with that. But offensively, the problem is there's nothing different about this offense. What's being put out in the field, the production, I suppose, is different. It's different. But it's not. The offense is not different. Early in the year, I guess they ran the ball a little better. They ran the ball a little better. They were okay at an okay level. But the identity of this offense was always just a quick pass offense. Big Ben downfield. He's not bad downfield. He's just not too successful downfield. He's not the same as he used to be. The running game isn't their strength. Where they thrive is the quick passes, using those quick receivers that can play. They can play everywhere. They can play slot, outside, anything. That was the identity of the offense, and it worked. It looked good, and they were able to run the ball because teams really didn't know what to expect early in the year. Now teams watching more film. Some teams play them twice. Watching more and more film, getting more looks at the team, game plan for the team when we're getting down to crunch time. These teams are in playoff mode. Bills are in playoff mode. It's easy to game plan for. The only way they can beat us is what the Bills are saying. A team like the Bills, a team like Washington saying, is the quick passes. That's their game. Let's make them run the ball. We don't even need a game plan for stopping a run. We don't need a game plan for it. Let's make them run the ball. Let's make them throw downfield. We're going to beat them. That's what's happening. That's what's happening right now. They are restricted to one type of offense, and the receivers can't even catch the ball in that type of offense at all times. They can't even catch the ball. They can't run the ball. Why? Because the run blocking is pretty terrible, and there's a lot of hesitation by the backs in the backfield. To run well in this offense, you're going to need a star running back probably, or close to. They don't have that. And who is this on? It's on the players on the field. They don't, or maybe it's on they didn't get the best talent for run blocking or the running game. They kind of need to tear that part of the game down and bring it back up. Here and there, Big Ben will check to a play and take a shot downfield. I don't blame him for that. He sees things in the defense and he wants to take the shot. I don't blame him. It doesn't really work out though. Seen one that was picked, and he had a pick six and he had that pick downfield, So it's on him. I don't really blame him for seeing something in the defense and changing the play. They are so restricted. The offense is so restricted that the play caller can only call a restricted offense. And I am seeing the 95% of the Steelers fan base complain about Randy Fichtner for this. And it is not. I watch a lot of football. I complain about play callers more than anybody, maybe. I think a lot of play callers are holding teams back. They're too focused on the clock. They get too predictable. It's just the same, going through the motions, same thing. They kind of go by a handbook. Fichtner's not one of them. It's not a problem right now at all. I think it's an easy blame. Like, oh, we lost. It's pick six, Fichtner. I think it's an easy point to finger when it's actually not the case. I promise you it's not the case. I'm not saying he's a good play caller even, great one or anything. Last week I didn't like to throw to the offensive lineman. That's just stupid. But at the same time, things aren't working. One type of play call is working because what's going on in the field. So we got to get creative. So now I'm starting to think that wasn't a bad decision. I'm sure they practiced that in practice and it probably worked. And now the offensive lineman's not getting in the end zone. He's falling down instead. So now I kind of go back and don't really, they probably got to get, maybe I can get on Fichtner because he's probably got to get more creative. He's probably got to get more trick plays. He tries to do these screen passes. I know the fan base gets on him on that, but you got to get something going in the small ball. You can't just throw quick slants all day. So he's put in maybe a tougher spot than a lot of offensive coordinators. What's going on in the field has restricted them to they're only thriving in quick passes, and now teams are taking that away. It's a very easy game plan to play against the Steelers. And we see how important the run game is. People are starting to devalue the running back position. They shouldn't, really. I understand not drafting one early, but besides the point. You run to open up other things. Defense is a guessing game. If you're not worried about the run, if you can stop the run by default by not even playing the run, it makes it so much easier. It's easy to guess. It's easy to get. It's not because the offensive play caller is predictable. It's because the offense, what's on the field, is predictable because they can't do things to make them one-dimensional. That's plain and simple what it is. It's not even debatable. So that kind of gets on me a little bit. So they got to figure some things out. This offense isn't nearly as good as we thought it was. Defensively, they need to get some guys back. They can't get Bud Dupree back. That sucks. I was hyping him up a lot this year. I thought he was on the underrated side. He's been ridiculous. They miss him. They miss him badly. A lot of teams have big injuries like that, though. So it's an excuse on why you're playing to your best for sure. But you kind of got to go out and find ways. T.J. Watt, I thought, would feast in this game. The Bills' offensive line hasn't really been that great. They let Joey Bosa go off. People have been getting pass rush. Sometimes it goes unnoticed because Josh Allen's good enough to beat it, escape it, throw as he's getting hit, all those things. But T.J. Watt was missing in this game, even in the run game, missing. Darrell Williams dominated him. That was surprising to say the least. Maybe the most surprising thing of the week. Darrell Williams, just plain and simple, won the battle, like plain and simple. Now the question comes up, does T.J. Watt need Bud Dupree? And T.J. Watt was my defensive MVP pick for majority of the year, and I'm not saying he's not anymore, but he's in some tough company where, flawless play is what you need to win it, because how good he is, how good Aaron Donald is, how good Myles Garrett is, some of these corners right now, Ramsey, Xavier Howard, you basically can't have an off game. because you're trying to win that. And so that occurred in this game, so that could hurt him a little bit. And everyone has, one off game, so it's not the end of the world. But so we'll see how it is going forward out Bud Dupree. They were missing some inside linebackers in this game. That was kind of costly, missing Joe Hayden. I don't know if things would have been that much different, really. So Steelers, I don't know the fix. The defense could be better if they get some guys healthier. There really is no fix against, they got the Bengals coming up. That could be the fix. I don't know. Bills, looking good. They're getting dangerous right now. That could be a legit team in the AFC. So the Steelers stock is definitely going down and losing a little bit of confidence. Still a great record. It's crazy they could have that good of a record. And last week I was kind of on, people were like, yeah, the Steelers just aren't that good. And I was like, they just lost their first game. It's tough to stay undefeated. They lost to a good defense. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. So I was on that side, but now, and it's not because the L next to this game. It's not because of the loss. It's because what went on within the game, what I'm consistently seeing now, and when I'm realizing how teams are game planning for them. Those things are why I'm a little freaking worried right now. Still a solid team, but I'm a little worried. Because these teams, if you all of a sudden get this thought that they won't be able to compete in the playoffs because these are playoff teams. Because basically what I'm saying is the expectations are so high where something so little can make it drop pretty big. That's basically what I'm saying there. So tough for the Steelers. They got the Bengals this week though. So they better win that game. They gotta win that game. It's a good one to have at this time, I suppose. But again, the Bills are heating up like what they're doing there. Defense is getting better. Offense is being more consistent because we know it was already good. It's not really getting better because it was always really good. Just being more consistent, I guess. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up the takeaways, the recap of Week 14 for Sunday's action. We still got one more game, big one. Ravens Browns. Will be covering that fully on the Twitter, so follow that link down below. Smash that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on, and be much appreciated. That's gonna do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.